In a quiet neighborhood garage, hardworking mechanic James Carter spent his days fixing engines and earning the trust of his community. Known for his kindness and integrity, James was the last person anyone would suspect of wrongdoing. But everything changed one fateful night when he witnessed something he shouldn't have. A powerful city official involved in a shady deal that turned deadly. Before James could process what he'd seen, his life unraveled. The official, desperate to cover his tracks, framed James for the murder, planting evidence and turning the system against him. Suddenly, James found himself trapped in a nightmare, branded a criminal and hunted by the law. As the walls close in, James must prove his innocence while uncovering a web of corruption. Will he clear his name, or will the truth cost him everything? James couldn't believe how quickly his world had turned upside down. Just hours ago, he was under a car, tightening bolts and cracking jokes with customers. Now his face was all over the news, labeled as a fugitive wanted for a crime he didn't commit. The so-called evidence against him, a bloodied wrench from his toolbox and a planted eyewitness, was too perfect to be real. But who would believe a simple mechanic over a powerful official? Desperate for answers, James retraced his steps, piecing together every detail from that night. He remembered the shadowy figures in the alley, the hushed voices, and the flash of panic when they noticed him. Someone wanted him silenced, but why? Determined to uncover the truth, James sought help from the only person he trusted, a childhood friend who knew the system inside out. James found himself in the cramped apartment of Marcus, his childhood friend and a former investigative journalist who had been forced out of his career for digging too deep into corruption. Marcus listened intently as James recounted the night of the crime, every detail etched in his mind. The more James spoke, the more Marcus's expression darkened. "This isn't just about you, man," Marcus said. "If they went this far to frame you, they're hiding something much bigger." As they worked to unravel the mystery, Marcus dug into the official's past, uncovering a history of shady dealings and a trail of missing funds linked to city contracts. Meanwhile, James couldn't shake the feeling he was being watched. Every shadow seemed to follow him, every stranger's glance felt like a threat. Their investigation led to a chilling discovery: a network of dirty officials willing to do anything to protect their secrets. James and Marcus followed the clues to an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city, one of the places tied to the missing funds. The air was thick with tension as they crept inside, their footsteps echoing in the dim light. What they found was more than they had bargained for: stacks of documents, digital records, and photographs that painted a damning picture of corruption, embezzlement, and violence. But before they could process it all, they heard voices outside. The corrupt official wasn't just covering his tracks, he was tying up loose ends. James and Marcus barely had time to hide before a group of enforcers entered, armed and ready. Pinned between the evidence they desperately needed and the men determined to destroy it, James realized the only way out was to risk everything. With his heart racing, he knew the next move could change everything, or end it. As the enforcers combed through the warehouse, James and Marcus crouched behind a stack of crates, their breaths shallow. Marcus clutched a flash drive loaded with the incriminating evidence, but there was no way to escape without being seen. Suddenly, James noticed something odd. One of the enforcers wasn't acting like the others. He moved differently, nervously glancing around, almost as if he didn't belong. Before James could make sense of it, the man quietly broke off from the group and approached their hiding spot. "I know you're here," he whispered urgently. "I'm not one of them. I can help." James hesitated, but the man's eyes pleaded for trust. There wasn't time to argue. As the other enforcers grew suspicious and started closing in, the stranger revealed his true purpose. He was an undercover investigator, deep within the corrupt network, risking everything to expose the truth. The undercover investigator, Agent Harris, signaled for James and Marcus to follow him. Navigating through the maze of crates, he led them toward a back exit. Just as freedom seemed within reach, a sharp voice echoed through the warehouse. "Stop right there." The corrupt official himself stepped out from the shadows, flanked by armed enforcers. "You think you can outsmart me?" The official sneered, his eyes burning with fury. "Everything you have will disappear, just like you." As tension peaked, Agent Harris revealed a hidden microphone under his jacket. "It's over. Your men, your operation. It's all being recorded live," he said calmly. The official's face paled, realizing his empire was crumbling. But as officers stormed the warehouse to make arrests, James noticed something strange: a missing flash drive. Before anyone could react, Marcus turned and fled into the night, leaving them stunned and questioning his loyalty. As the authorities arrested the corrupt official and his men, James and Agent Harris exchanged a look of relief. The web of corruption was finally unraveling. But the betrayal from Marcus weighed heavily on James. The flash drive was gone, and with it, the last piece of vital evidence. Days later, Marcus reached out to James, explaining his actions. He had been working undercover for a rival faction, trying to gain leverage against the corrupt official for a bigger play. But as he saw James's struggle, his conscience got the best of him. He promised to return the data once the dust settled. Though the official's empire crumbled, James's trust was broken. Yet in the end, justice prevailed. The corruption was exposed, and the city began to heal. James knew the fight wasn't over, but at least for now, he was free.